I was born in 1980 here in this village in Beit Neqofa. I grew up as a village girl, and when I was 12, there was a area school here, a district like school. Afterwards, I moved to an art school of ballet in Jerusalem. It's called the Rubin Academy, because I was dancing since I was 5 years old.
Oh wow!
And that was the love of my life.
So you were children's star.
Yeah. When I was 7, I knew that I'm going to be a dancer. Wow. It was like clear to me. This is what I have to do with my life, and this love continues till today. When I was 18, I went to the army under a special status of an exceptional dancer, so I could do a reduced military service. I was a secretary in the middle of Jerusalem, which allowed me to go keep on dancing. As a child, I grew up with a lot of people from all over the world, with Palestinians, with people from France, from Germany, from England. So since I'm a child, I got to see a lot of colors in this world. And I think it built my awareness as a person, and the lack of fear to meet people who are different from me. It's interesting for me. I don't feel that I lose something by meeting someone who is different. I think that I gain something. I become a richer person inside when I meet someone from a different culture, from a different view. When I studied also in the high academy, and I worked also as a ballet teacher and dancer. We made a ballet project in Jerusalem at the school, and we started to build a company. And then I met Osama. We worked together.
Who is Osama?
Osama Zatar is my husband, and we are married already for 3 years. We worked together in an animal shelter in Jerusalem, which took care of stray dogs and cats from the street, and we took care of them for a year, and we fell in love, and we got married in 2004. The big thing that society would expect me to say about Osama is that he's a Palestinian and I'm an Israeli. But for me, Osama is the partner of my life and the love of my life. The fact that he's a Palestinian it's a part of his identity. It's not a condition for me to treat him as one kind of person or another. And we got married because that was a natural thing to do. We wanted to live together. But society did not accept that as such. The close friends accepted us very well, but the state didn't.
And
the families accepted us very well. And we were very lucky, because then we got the first circle in our life supporting us. And it gives you power to fight the world. And the state decided to do everything in its power to separate us and not to allow us to live together. And we've been fighting since on this subject. And we found ourselves now in Germany, because right now this is a country that allows us to live together freely, without checkpoints, without soldiers, which I cannot do here. And Osama is a sculptor and an artist, and I'm a dancer, so it was also another kind of interaction between our professions, and accept not just our cultures. And I remember in the beginning we decided, no, we are a normal couple, we are a natural couple, we don't want to make a fuss about it, we just want to live. But I understood that if I want to get the right to live together as a normal couple, as you want, we have to make a statement, and we have to fight politically about our case.
What do you mean you have to fight? What is a fight like this?
To fight the system till the last resource that I can, which is the Supreme Court, for the right to live together.
Is there a law that Palestine and the Israeli men and women are not allowed to?
Yeah, there is what is called a temporary law, which they renew every half year, every 2 years, already for, I think, 7 years. This law is being renewed again and again. It doesn't allow Palestinians to join their spouse, man or woman, inside Israel, even though they're married. So, but it's talking only about Palestinians. It doesn't talk about Germans, about people from Holland, people from France, only about Palestinians. If you marry a Palestinian, you cannot live with him or her inside Israel borders. And that, of course, closed the doors in front of us for our fight to live here. So we decided to move to Palestine, and we lived together for 5 months, and I wish 5 years. 5 months in Palestine. I think that was one of the most important experiences in my life, to meet people from the other side of the world personally, not through the media, not through newspapers, as people who want to live just like me. And the way that I was accepted was overwhelming for me. and shocking, because no one even came to me with the verbal criticism. Why is your country killing us? Why are they doing that? And I even asked once a friend of ours, like, why you never argue with me about it? He said, you made your statement by coming and living here, and that's enough for us. The fact that you're an Israeli is just a detail in your identity. We don't judge you accordingly. And that was a very big shock, because it's not like that in the Israeli side. The Israeli society is much more closed and much more tight, and doesn't allow every foreigner to really be accepted. You get accepted until a certain point, but when it comes to family matters, you've been blocked, usually. I think it's connected also with our religion, that is a very segregated religion that doesn't want to mix. And it's not a missionary religion like Islam or Christianity. It's a religion that doesn't want newcomers. They want to sustain what we have. And I think it also affects our civil society, that we are not so open for foreigners, for strangers who are different. And the Palestinian society, because most of the Palestinian society is Muslim, also the Christian Palestinians are in their awareness more open to adopt new people from outside.
So his family also welcomed you?
Yeah.
And your family welcomed him?
Of course, in the Palestinian side, there was a problem in the beginning. They were very suspicious, because usually they're afraid of collaborators and Shabak agents. Shabak is the intelligence, what's called the General Security Service, which is an intelligence agent here that plants agents in Palestine. So they're very suspicious from the beginning, but after a few months they got to know me, and they saw that I'm a person who loves Osama and wants to live with them. So from the Palestinian side, I had a very good experience of living. But from the Israeli side, I had a very bad experience of living. The harassment and delays in checkpoints, and the violence that I've seen, the everyday little subtle violence that I've seen in checkpoints was like looking at Chinese torture. And it came to a point that after 5 months I almost got crazy. I said, I cannot bear this stress, because I'm coming to a checkpoint, I see a person who's supposed to represent me, whether I like it or not, behaving in a way that a human should not behave. And I have to stop him because he represents me, but I have no tools to do that. A simple request is getting the soldier ID, which he must give me, as I was also a soldier. We also always learned this is the first thing you have to give to the enemy, is your soldier ID, and that's it. And you have to give it to every citizen who asks you, your soldier ID. You think anyone gave me a soldier ID? No one, not even high commanders. They ran away with the jeep in front of my face. So they don't give a shit about law, about the Israeli law. They have their own kingdom there.
Why do you think it is like that? Why do you think they are like that?
Because I think right-wing and military go together. They always went together in history. Money, power, and military went together hand in hand. And you have a very dangerous kingdom in the West Bank, and in Gaza, of course, was also of very extreme settlers together with extreme army, occupying and oppressing a whole nation of Palestinians. And this is why I think there is this connection. And left-wing people are an enemy in the military eyes.
So you were an enemy of them not only because of your relationship to some, but also because of your...
I was more challenging for them, because soldiers are being victimized almost the same like the victims of the oppression. Because you take an 18-year-old boy, you give him a gun, you tell him on the other side of the wall there's a monster who wants to eat you. And if you don't protect this checkpoint, they will come to eat you and your family and your friends. And people, soldiers are being brainwashed from the first day in the army till the last to believe that. And when they see a 25-year-old girl in their age, looks the same like them, walking freely between Ramallah and Jerusalem 2 or 3 times a day, and everybody knows that I'm an Israeli, and I'm not unharmed, makes them ask questions. And that's very problematic in the military eyes. And that's how a little ant like me, you know, little ant that goes can break a big wall because of this interaction.
You were the only Israeli woman you know who is married with a Palestinian?
No, there are more. There are more than...
interrupt because it's that interesting and it peaks because when you are emotionally just a bit louder.
Yep. I want to tell you a story. Once I went from Jerusalem to Ramallah in a normal bus, like a service taxi in a bus. And it was night, it was dark, I was after a ballet class. And suddenly the bus stopped and everybody had to go down. I saw that there are some soldiers, it was near Kalanda checkpoint, and they blocked the road. And I said, okay, I walk after all the Palestinians because they always know where to walk. I'm walking after the first one in the row. And we're walking over fences, under houses, between the trees, between the garbage, and suddenly we come to a little alley, and we saw what happened. Someone left a Renault Express, it's like a van, near the Kalanda checkpoint, and the soldiers thought it's a bomb car. And they had to stop the road and block everything. And of course, they started shooting rubber bullets because Palestinian teenagers started throwing stones and started a big collision there. And the alley was between the soldiers and the Palestinians. And we could see everything that's happening in front of our eyes. And then I was standing there in a very dark alley with 5 Palestinians. And they asked me, where are you from? And I said, okay, I'm in a Palestinian's house. I'm not going to lie. I told him who I am. And he said, so you speak Hebrew? I said, yeah. And then we started to sit there with 2 hours or something, talking about religion, philosophy, life. Behind me, shooting, bombing, fire, and we're sitting drinking tea, talking in Hebrew in the middle of this commercial. And I think that's a strong symbol for my life in Palestine. Because nothing happened to me. This great belief that every Palestinian will find a Jew, will murder him. I was in a dark alley with 5 Palestinians. I had nowhere to run to. And nothing happened to me. I had a fantastic interaction with people who are victims of my country, and I'm part of their oppression. And they found a way to let me in without harming me. And I can't say, and I think this symbolized the most my experience in Palestine. And if there wouldn't be an army and wouldn't be checkpoints, I would continue to live in Palestine. My husband suffered a lot of problems from the Palestinian side because he's an artist, a non-nationalist. He doesn't believe in war. He has long hair. He's not religious. He talks a lot of criticism against the Palestinian society because he wants to fix the things which are wrong in his own society. And that's very not fashionable in Palestine right now. And the fact that he's married to me just adds to all of it. So he was attacked by the Palestinian Authority many times, 3 times already. So he paid a price for who he is. So it's not like everything is fantastic. For me, everything was great, but for my husband, not so. So this is another reason why we are out, because both of us cannot live in our own countries. We cannot grow, we cannot build lives in our own country. We could survive in Palestine from day to day. This was possible, but we could not build a family, a career, what everybody asks for themselves in a normal life. So this is why we are out in Europe.
And now you're in Berlin?
Yeah.
And what is life there and your experiences?
I learned a lot of things about Germany. It allows a lot because it's big and it's international, especially Berlin. And I found a lot of things that I'm very sorry to see. Racism, which did not change, it just changed clients. It did not change the essence of the racism in Germany. I see that people react very positively to Jews or Israelis, but acts very aggressively towards Muslims, black people, people who are not white European. And this is something I learned, and I could not have learned it otherwise if I would not live there for a year. And I think 60 years is not enough for such deep things to disappear. I think Europe needs more time, and the world needs more time to grow and to work on these issues. And I felt that the trauma of the Second World War in Germany is a lot bigger than trauma of Second World War in Israel, because we went out of Europe. We have a different country now, in a different area of the world. And the Germans, the Europeans, are living inside the place that this happened. And it's an issue. It's an issue that escorts them in everything in their life. And I see that. And that was very important for me to see.
So you see more than the Germans usually see?
I think the Germans are afraid to see. It's too big. That's why I say 60 years is not enough. They are searching. They are searching why it happened. But I think it will take a long time and a lot of growth to come to confront the real reason why it happened there. And it takes time. And it's very, very difficult. I know because I'm coming from a society which is oppressing and killing another nation. And for me to see that face of Israel, which you see only in the Palestinian side of the wall, was very, very hard. I was always a left wing, but I was a Zionist. And when I saw our real face on the other side of the wall, I stopped being Zionist. Because how can I be a Zionist? How can I think that I have a right more than another for a land? How can I justify this oppression, occupation, and killing an apartheid regime after my nation was suffering the same in Europe? So we didn't come to this extreme point, but we are somewhere in the shades of gray. It's just a matter of time. And this is, I think, the biggest lesson of the Second World War. Everybody can be Nazis. Jews, Muslims, everybody has a Nazi in them. And it's possible. And if we don't stop it, and if we don't look at the way we behave to right now our victims, the poor society that we are oppressing, we will become the same. And it's what scares me in the Israeli society. Fascism is growing more and more here. Militarism is extremely strong in Israel. Human rights are worth nothing because the holy word of security is overtaking everything. And the last establishments that are still trying to protect human rights is also getting weary and tired because the Supreme Court cannot hold everything. And they are also part of the system, of the political system. So they're also reacting to the political system. So they're also, in a way, not always doing their job on keeping human rights against the government, against the army, against the holy word security in Israel. If you say it, everything else disappears.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but on the other hand, there are or have been always reasons. I mean, not that you, for maybe not for that strong reactions, but there are these bombings and there are the reasons for fear. And there were the fighting against the young Israelis from the very beginning.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can't talk about now the far history. I can talk about what I have now. Unfortunately, a lot of people are earning money from the Palestinian-Israeli war. They are only earning money from the wall. They are earning money from checkpoints and permits and controlling goods and grocery things. And they don't have an interest to stop this war. And they will feed us with fear of the other side that doesn't allow us to see that we are being lied to. Because the fact is, I live among Palestinians and I can live among Palestinians. And that's the main point. There is no reason for this segregation. There is no real hate between Palestinian and Israelis. There is a war, but not hate. We don't hate each other. We hate the ideology. And the government makes sure that Israelis, like the normal typical Israeli, will not meet the normal typical Palestinian. He will meet the extreme through the newspaper, through the media. And then we are being fed and our views are being formed. So when we come to the elections, we elect the right thing that they want. And that's very problematic.
So you think establishment needs the occupation in this situation?
Of course, because all their power is holding on this insecurity in life in Israel. It always gives a contrapunct to any other issue that we have to deal with, because it's always more important. And I think a lot of people would be discovered for their rotten and corrupted ways if this war will stop. It's also, and from the other side of the wall, Abu Ala has a concrete company that builds a wall. Abu Ala was a prime minister in Arafat time of the Palestinians, and he's the head of the committee against the wall, and he's building the wall. The same is on the Israeli side.
I was in Ramallah market. I was walking and I said, what is that? Everything here is Israeli products. And I was like asking, why? Because Palestinians have products of their own. They have vegetables and fruits, and because Jenin, which is a district of fruits and vegetables, is 1.5 hours from Ramallah. But between Jenin and Ramallah, there is something like 5 checkpoints. It takes something more than 6 hours, if at all, to come from Jenin to Ramallah. No farmer can afford himself to bring that. So what Israel does, it floods the Palestinian market with Israeli products. And then we have 3.5 million people added to our market. That's an economical force. That's a real occupation. And Palestinians are not able to build anything independent economically because they have to depend on everything on us. And I don't want to come here and criticize the Palestinian side because I'm coming from the occupator. I don't have the right to come and criticize the victim side because I'm an occupator. I'm not coming from a neutral side. If a Palestinian would come and ask me, what do you think about this subject or that subject, I will tell the truth. But I don't have the freedom to speak about it because I will play to the system of my own country.
Sure. I just asked this because you did this, you compared the Nazi way of killing Jews with the way of here the war is.
It's of course not the same, but you know it's a big spectrum. So let's say the Nazis in the extreme, and we are somewhere in the middle in the shades of grey. But it's the same because it's coming from racism. It's coming from the fact that we think we have more right to live than a Palestinian, that the life of a Jew is worth more than the life of a Palestinian. And when you think like that, your view of reality is distorted because you don't look to the other side in the same level. And this is what I'm talking about. Of course, there is no Nazi regime here. There is no concentration camps. And not 10, I don't know how many millions are being burned and killed. And it's not that. But there is an apartheid regime here. It's alive. It's alive on the other side of the world. You can live in Israel in a big bubble, in your own little life, and not see it, and not see once a piece of wall. When you look at it in the newspaper or in the media, you just block it. If you don't go to the other side, if you don't meet the other side, you never know.
But is it possible for normal Israelis to?
No, now there is 8 meters high wall. 8 meters high wall between us. So it's not. If it was more possible before, now there is no possibility. And that's for me the way to win this war, is it to interact. It's to live together, it's to meet the other side, to exchange cultures. And that's the only way to live here. This is how I believe.
Is this a part of the utopia?
My utopia for this country would be I don't know if a binational or a state for all its citizens that allows asylum for people who are oppressed and being suffer from racism all over, but that it gives complete equal national rights for Palestinians and Israeli. That is my dream. One country. I think this country is too small to cut, and I think we are too much involved in each other's life to separate. We have too much in common to separate, and it's. I don't believe in segregation, or separation in life. I believe people should be free to live together everywhere in the world. This world was created for all of us. I don't accept borders and lines that are put by men, because we got this earth without borders. We created them.
So it's a real cosmopolitan.
This is, you ask what is my utopia. This is my utopia. But to come to that point, the Palestinian people first have to be liberated. They have to find their own independent way, and then we can come as equal partners to one country. Because I don't see any problem to have a Palestinian prime minister. Why not? What is a problem? I don't understand this fear of the different, fear of the other side. I think it minimizes us. It makes us very pity people, small-minded, very arrogant, very angry. And for my interactions in my life with Osama, I got so much, I became so much more as a person. And I didn't lose even 1 millimeter of who I am. I'm a Jew. I'm a part of the Jewish nation. This is who I am. I cannot. I'm also an Israeli. I was born here. This is my home. I did not become less because I met Osama. I became much more. And this is for me what I would like to see in the future.
I have a question which brings us maybe back to the beginning, because you said who I am and where I come from. I'm Jew, I'm Israeli. Could you say something where your roots are, where your family comes from? Since when she?
My mother comes from Germany. She was born in 1940 in Hamburg. She passed the war in Germany, and when she was 25, she came to Israel. She was, no problem.
It's a authentic sound, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And this, maybe you can put your hair a bit back, because they're always stretching on the microphone.
Like this?
Yeah, like this.
She was, her father was a Jew and her mother was a Christian.
That's why she was able to
survive the war. I think, it's in Hamburg they did not. Maybe I don't know enough, but my mother was saved. She was registered as Lutheran and not as a Jew. My grandfather was forgotten in jail. He never reached the camps, and he stayed in the jail for 5 years. And after, when my mother was 25, she decided to convert to Judaism and come to Israel. So she came to Israel in '65. I don't know. She doesn't talk about it so much. My mother talks about little things, and I pick them up and connect the picture, but I don't know the real reason. She said once that she could not live in ambivalent, being half and half. She wanted to feel belong to some society. I think a lot of Germans were looking for their identity, and Jews also, after the Second World War, because everything was shaken. What it is to be human was shaken. So of course, identity and belongingness to a certain group was also shaken, so people was trying to find themselves. And maybe she found herself into the Jewish group. So she converted and she came here. My father was born in Jerusalem. His mother was from Russia, and his father was half Iraqi, half Spanish Jerusalem. He was born in Hebron. I don't know which year. Many years ago. He was also my father is coming from a Zionist family, and they met in Jerusalem. Left Zionist, but still Zionist. And they met in Jerusalem. And they married in Jerusalem. So that's my history.
And then you said when you were young, or before you said, I think before you met Osama and started to live there, so not super young. You also were a Zionist.
Because I grew up in a Zionist society. That's the eyes that I got to look at the world.
How do they look?
I'll tell you, like, one of the things we learn in books about history of this country. The country was empty. It was full of swamps and desert. There was hardly any people here, and we flourished the desert. That's the biggest agenda of the Zionists, and of course it's a complete lie. This village that we are now sitting in was built on the ruins of a Palestinian village, which is called Beit Neqofa. Its residents fled in 1948 from the war, and then in the 50s came immigrants from Yugoslavia and from Morocco, Jewish immigrants, and built Beit Neqofa, a Jewish village on the ruins of an Arabic village, or Palestinian village. Only afterwards, the Palestinians got the lands on the other side of the valley, and they re-established their Palestinian village, which is called Beit Neqofa. Above our house, there is the old Arabic architecture house. I don't know how to call it. And traditional Arabic house with a rounded roof and square house from stone. So you cannot ignore what was here. Many places in Israel, the ruins of villages were completely destroyed, and they planted trees over it, so people will not know who lived there before. They will really attempt to erase what was before, so people will not ask questions. So it will be empty. Everything is empty.
But they can see it. I mean, the houses are still there.
When you're a child, you learn to look at the reality the way you are educated to.
Yeah.
So sometimes you ask questions, but not always.
And when did you first discover that there's
Yeah.
sounds maybe ridiculous, but that there's a conflict, that there are other people, the Palestinians?
They were always here. You see, there are Palestinians here. They're not newcomers. Some of them are immigrants. Some of them lived here for hundreds of years. We were born into a conflict. I was born in 1980. 1987 was Open Intifada first started. I was born into a society that is occupying already for more than 10 years another nation, and the West Bank and Gaza. So I didn't feel the change before and after. I was born into this society, in this reality. In a sense, I always had interactions with Palestinians, with Muslims, but always as a Zionist Jew, because it's my home. And there was always interaction between. So I always met Palestinians and Muslims and Christians. My nannies were the nuns in Abu Ghosh on the mountain, and they are half Palestinian, half French. So it's not like I never met an Arab before I met Osama, which unfortunately sometimes people in Israel are in this condition, that they don't meet Palestinian until they are older, until they are in the army.
Especially in Tel Aviv. Huh?
Yeah, not just. It depends which bubble you grow into.
Okay.
But when I was after the army, especially after I met Osama, my views changed, because he gave me different eyes to look at the reality, which contradicts a lot of things that I saw before. And that's why his presence in my life made me a bigger person. It made me a much whole person. I'm much more happy and complete with who I am today than I was before. And that's a result of meeting Osama. For what he gave me, from his culture, from his views. And I'm very grateful for him.
You have to stop your career here in Jerusalem because of your relationship.
Yeah, but it's not because of the relationship, it's because of the state. This is the thing. People always say, because you married an Arab, you lost your... No, it's not because I married an Arab, it's because the state doesn't allow it.
Okay.
That's true that there is a price leaving your homeland. Immigration is really difficult. You build yourself completely from zero. But we are young, and we have a lot of energy and a lot of belief. So we will succeed. We don't have any other choice. We have to succeed. So I will find my way. In the end, I have to fight, I have to struggle for my career, and it's annoying, very much annoying. But this is life, and it's part of life. And I have one thing which is complete and the best present I could have, that's Osama. The relationship with Osama, that's true, that's real for me. And that's worth the struggles. And this is something, when you have it, you never let go.
Okay.
This is for me like that.
We lost the question before. It's a less personal question. If you know other couples, other relationships like yours?
There are also relationship between Jewish women and Palestinian, not just Palestinians inside Israel and Palestinians from the West Bank. Most of the couples which the law is approaching and attempting to stop is Palestinians from Israel and Palestinians from Palestine.
Sorry, you have to explain.
The law, which we talk the citizenship law, was made mostly against Palestinians from Palestine marrying Palestinians in Israel and coming to join their spouse here.
Okay.
But there are couples like me and Osama, which are Jewish Israelis that married a Palestinian. And they're also suffering from the same law because they married a Palestinian. So it's from the same racist reason. Most of them are hiding in Palestine. Some of them are married already for 30 years and people already don't know about them. And they just blended in the Palestinian society. Some of them are hiding. Some of them are very active in the left-wing in the left-wing politics, and a lot fled abroad, like us, that could get the chance to flee, and they went.
Maybe a ridiculous question, but is it always like this, that you have a woman, Jewish Israeli woman, with a Palestine man?
There is also opposite couples, but less.
Less, yeah.
Because
don't forget that most Israeli men were soldiers, and the Palestinian society is traditional.
Yeah, and this means...
And that's for a Palestinian woman to meet an Israeli man. She needs to be very free and liberated, and not to be in a traditional closed tribe that doesn't allow her to meet with someone without permission.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. It's very difficult for a Palestinian woman to meet on her own someone else without the permission of the family, and the family, of course, would not let her meet an Israeli man. So this is.
And do you think an Israeli man
I think
would...
inside Israel, there are Palestinian-Israeli couples, which also the woman is Palestinian and the man is an Israeli Jew. But that's inside the borders of Israel. So both spouse has Israeli citizenship and passport.
I think it's just a fantasy. It's easier for a society to accept a foreign woman than to accept a foreign man.
On the Palestinian side, I think so, because the woman has a lower status. She adds to her man. The man doesn't add to the woman.
Did you feel that when you lived there?
I lived inside Ramallah, and Ramallah is much more liberal. And because I'm considered a foreigner, a lot of the social laws and the Palestinian society do not apply to me because I'm a foreigner. So I have much more freedom to be different than the Palestinian woman. So this is a very different thing. And one of the things that the most sad thing that I learned also when I was in Palestine, that even in Palestine, I have a superior status. I have a freedom of mobility. A soldier will not just shoot me because he likes to. He won't arrest me without any reason. He cannot arrest me. He needs a special police for that. He will not just take me to arrest without trial. You know, like they take people and they disappear for years. I can go through checkpoints. I will never be prevented to enter Israel. I can always go to work. And Osama, in his own homeland, doesn't have this freedom. And so even in Palestine, I'm superior. And that was extremely difficult for me. Because I thought, okay, we'll move to Palestine, and then he will be the strong side. And he could not. He had he could not do anything. When soldiers stop us, they can shoot him if they want, and he can't do anything about it. He will always be the blame because, of course, he attacked. You know, this is always the Palestinian is always the attacking side. And this was a very hard lesson for me of reality when I learned in Palestine.
And in Germany, I mean, not in this tough way, but it seems also to be the same, that he suffers more.
Because Germany would not criticize Israel openly about the occupation because of fear of being accused in anti-Semitic feelings. So Germany is very sensitive towards Israel in any way. And the Israelis have special conditions in getting visas in Germany. They cannot be deported like any other nation in the world because of the Second World War. So we have extra rights comparing to other foreigners. So again, of course, Palestinians are suffering a lot. Germany does not recognize Palestine as a country. Does not recognize Palestinian Authority. You can be a Palestinian, but you don't have a Staat. You don't have a state. So my husband in the Anmeldung, in his permanent address, is written that he's coming from Karawat Bani Zed, which is his village, Israel. Because she didn't have the option, Palestine. She asked me, what should I write? Iran, Pakistan? And I was looking at her like, excuse me? He's from Palestine. We don't have Palestine. What do you want to write? I said, okay, unfortunately, you write Israel.
There is no official state.
But the thing is that the Germans treat Palestinians in lack of rights. They don't give them any rights because they're Palestinians, but they refuse to recognize them as Palestinians. You understand? It's like double-faced game. But that's world politics. And that was very difficult for Osama because he got again a punch in his face. He was trying to flee from this country to stop being treated just as Palestinian, and he came to Germany and it's exactly how they treat him, as a Palestinian. But we'll have to go through this, and we'll have to build ourselves against these systems.
I mean, I think, or I just try to imagine that this is also a real pressure for your relationship to have always this gap that is.
It is problematic, but we're working on it. We are aware of the disbalance between us, and we know that it's a
destructive force in a relationship. But that's our work as a couple.
And have you had ever any experiences of anti-Semitism?
No, because
Not only personally, but
no, never. And the thing is, or I will tell you yes, but in a funny way. Where do you come from? I come from Israel. Oh, wunderbar, das ist ganz toll.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why it's ganz toll? You know, it's the reaction is not natural.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to say, I'm coming from Fiji. I'm coming from, I don't know, a country that nobody knows about. Just that I will not become such special creature in Germany. And that's not anti-Semitic, but that means that Germans do not treat Jews or Israelis as natural as they treat any other foreigner.
It's not anti-Semitic.
No.
I'm sure it's worse in Austria. It's something hidden.
Yeah.
For example, in Austria, you can make the experience that people are just silent. They don't ask you anything. They don't want to talk to you. Not that because they don't like you, because they have a fear to say something wrong.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes I feel with certain people that if before Jews were bad because they're Jews, now Jews are good because they're Jews. And that's anti-Semitic from the other side. Just. And I think it will take longer to balance. Now we went from one extreme to the other, and after maybe 200 years it will balance in between if we won't all die from, I don't know, the big flood and icebergs melting, you know? So it's the whole issue of the Second World War is very hard in Germany. They are dealing with it a lot, and it's stuck everywhere. You feel it everywhere. And that was difficult because in Israel, if you want, the people who have numbers on their hands already or dead or are kept in hospitals, you don't really meet them a lot in the street like you did in the 50s and the 60s. If you want to learn about Holocaust, you go to the museum. It's not a constant part of our awareness and life. It has effects on our awareness as a country, but it doesn't live among us all the time. In Germany, it's alive. It's all the time there. And it's difficult. It's very, I feel that it's a big trauma also for the German people. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with what came out of their country. And their responsibility for this. And I think, and this is one thing I learned about Germany, that I didn't think it's like that. When I was a tourist, you never feel it. But when you live there, you start to see.
But there's still a great difference a huge difference to Austria. You don't have in Austria. It started the last year that they realized that they're not a victim of Nazis, but they are in the.
They are collaborators with Nazis.
Not more than collaborators. I mean
one of the
But when I was in Berlin now, it was maybe you get used to it, but I was really shocked to see so many young neo-Nazis there where these neo-Nazi symbols, these Nazi symbols visible.
This is very problematic in Germany. The police handle them very weakly. They are much more interested in arresting left-wing, what they call terrorists. That if you put a little sticker on your window, I'm against the G8, you get immediately interrogated. And neo-Nazis which actually attack people and hurt people are being released all the time from the arrest. And so the treatment of the police is very, very forgiving to the neo-Nazis, because unfortunately, usually police are more right-wing in their definition. They are military, they are hierarchy. It's a fascist organization which every country has, and usually policemen are right-wing. I met very few policemen which are left-wing. So this is, and you see a lot of neo-Nazis in Berlin also, because it's still East Germany. East Germany is empty. People are running away from there. There is no jobs. Like in Leipzig, you have 40,000 flats empty. I worked in Leipzig. You see a whole building, one window with lights. And Leipzig is a very, very important city in Germany, historically, culture-wise. And that's one of the cities in the good condition in East Germany. And there is a big flood of people intellectuals and people who has abilities, they move to the West. And the people who are left behind are people who has no education and didn't have the chance to develop in life. And they usually create racist feelings towards foreigners because immigrants always have motivation to work and to build themselves. They don't have any other choice. They have to. Because they were not born in Germany, they have to build themselves from zero. So they have a lot of motivation to work and then a lot of stress and frustration from these groups, which has no chance to grow in Germany. They don't have a place in Germany towards the foreigners.
Somewhere else.
Yeah. But,
motivation.
but unfortunately, white people are always superior everywhere. Because the Western world, I don't know, destroyed everywhere, everything, for hundreds of years. So we are always special, and that makes me very sad.
Yeah, me too. Well, thanks a lot.
No
I
problem.
mean, I have no questions anymore. I could talk for hours now, but yeah. So
You're happy with the interview?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy. I don't
Okay.
know what you say. If they.
There is the rabbi of the settlement Kwa. It's near the south of Jerusalem, near Bethlehem, I think. You can ask Tal.
Yeah.
He's much more open-minded.
Yeah.
He preaches to live with the Palestinians, not on top.
Wow, that's.
There are in the south of Jerusalem. There are some interactions between the Palestinian villages and the settlements concerning traffic, hazards and death and accidents and safety in driving and other things. There is some kind of interaction.
Yeah.
So you need to ask Tal, he knows much more about it.
Yeah, of course.
And then maybe you can get a right-wing person who is not fascist, it's like...
Yeah, because our aim is
It's like interviewing a neo-Nazi to hear his opinions. We know the opinions.
Because our aim is really to show the complexity and to get away from this only black and white.
Yeah, so you don't want the complete extremes. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you know this Anti-Deutsche in Germany also.
Have you made a
So they are one of the reasons we are doing actually this project.
Very good. This is the one thing, like only in Germany, a left-wing group can call itself Anti-Deutsch. It's a German club. Nobody who's not German can enter it.
Yeah.
And they think that Jews are good because they're Jews. It's like completely psycho. I have a friend, her mother is Jewish, her father is Muslim, Israeli, and Israeli-Palestinian couple mixed inside Israel. And she criticized Zionism, and then they called her, you're anti-Semitic. Says, sorry, but I'm half Jew. No, you are worse. You are self-hating Jew.
Yeah.
German people, this crazy group is allowing itself to tell Jews, if they criticize Judaism or criticize their own society, you're a self-hating Jew. And that's the biggest arrogance I ever heard in my life. And it makes me very angry. But this is, I think, part of... But I think it's an important product because it means that the German society is trying to deal with what happened, and then you have these funny things, funny creatures, anti-Deutsch.
That's true.
It means that there is a process, maybe slow, but it happens, of discussion and trying to figure out what happened, and then you have funny creatures like that. And they will disappear in the end, I'm sure.
These funny creatures were not always as funny as that, because in the beginning when they popped up, it was in that time when these two German states were united, and this new this new nationalism also popped up. They called that's why themselves anti-Deutsch.
Yeah, against the nationalism.
Against this new nationalism.
I met some Jews in Berlin. They met together, and they said, after 9/11, the Spiegel put a nice drawing of Bin Laden after 9/11, and it was exactly like the caricature of the Jews in the Hitler time. And that's a big warning sign, because it means that I feel that in Germany they think that the Second World War is a German-Jewish thing. They don't understand it's a human thing. It's not connect just with Jews. Also, Roma, gypsies, were killed in millions. They were trying to eliminate them completely. And the Second World War, it's not a Jewish-German thing. It's a human thing. It includes everybody in the world. And everybody in the world has responsibility for this. Not just the Germans or just the Jews. It's not a national, religious thing, race thing. It's much more deep than that. And until they will not understand in Germany that racism is wrong to anyone, from any color, any side, things will not change. You cannot just educate yourself towards the Jews because you tried to kill them completely and did horrible things to that people and ignore all the others. Because the racism towards Muslims, Arabs, black people in Germany is open. It's completely legitimate. People are saying horrible things towards them, and they don't connect it to the same kind of racism. If they would say it about Jews, everybody would be like, oh. And I have a great example. In an audition in Hanover, this is a dancer told me because she was in the audition. The director said in the first group, you not, and all the Asians. Now, these auditions are by invitation. He invites people, and these people are flying from Japan, from China, from Korea, especially for this audition, just to hear, you're Japanese, we don't want you. You're Asian, we don't want you. If he would just change the word Asian into Jews, everybody would be completely shocked. You and all the Jews. It's exactly the same. It's a complete racism. Okay, you don't want, there is styles in the world in dance. The German style, Russian style. It also gets sources from the culture. So you don't want dancers who were trained in Japan because, I don't know, you don't like the style. Don't invite them. But you cannot invite them and say, sorry, you're Asian, we don't want you. And this is a little example. My husband was flying from Stuttgart to Berlin when he came, and he had a pain in his back, and he was sitting in his seat and did this. The woman from behind him, an old German, 80 years old, took a book and hit him on the hands. This she would never do to me because I'm white. If she would know I'm a Jew, she would be really very careful. But with him, he's an Arab, he's dark, no problem.